pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Michael, as soon as you're organized, we have the first item on our agenda are minutes.
Okay, no.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the December 17th, 2007 regular minutes as written.
Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? One is the executive session, December 17th. I recall it was in here.
It is. January 5th. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the December 17th, 2007 executive session minutes as written.
Second. Nope. Okay, so you
Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Vino. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? And then we have lastly, January 5th budget workshop.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the January 5th, 2008 budget workshop minutes as written.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman,
Discussion?
I wasn't at the 5th meeting, so I'll abstain.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention, Mr. Tardino. Okay. Correspondence, pass that down to the board secretary. Anything you would like? Okay, anyone in the audience for public comment?
My name is Jeff Ewell, 427 Park Street. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. You have already begun the budgetary process. Hopefully, all of the departments offered pared down expenditures. It appears to maintain the status quo, an override may be necessary. If an override were not to pass, you will have to make departmental cuts. So, if you have to do that, I recommend that you make those cuts at the same levels you have made for the public school system. We should all share that burden. This is not really what the people of North Bay want. At the minimum, we should have adequate services for all of the departments. This includes adequate education for all of our children in North Reading. Dr. Troughton presented 3 budget scenarios for 08, 09. Status quo, which is a 5.7% increase. Restoration, which is an 8.5% increase. And improved quality, which is a 14.7% increase. Any which way we do this, it's an override to all of our departments. Senator Jones has in committee House Docket 4651 that can hopefully bring some funds to North Reading to be used for the benefit of our town. Stand for Children is a state effort encouraging the state to send funds to support our education for our schools. NRUE, which is a North Reading United Education, is a local effort of concerned parents to encourage its own community to support its schools. But how can we ask ask for state funds when we won't support our schools ourselves. This is reflected in our teacher-to-pupil spending that has North Reading eighth from the bottom of 351 communities. This is where the selectmen can make a big difference by standing up for its own children and make education a top priority, along with Stand for Children, the efforts by Stand for Children, and the efforts by the NRUE. We can do an awful lot together, and I am willing to work with you on it. I know it's a long haul, but the education of every child in this community is vital to the welfare of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
No.
I have a question.
Sure, Larry.
Again, I haven't been privy to the finance team meetings as the chair and vice chair have this year. Has there been any real discussion in relation to an override proposal? What's the finance team?
There hasn't really been a discussion of an override. In fact, it's just recently that I'm unaware of the other two budgets the superintendent had proposed. For example, now we have a meeting tomorrow morning. I'm sure we're going to get brought up to date on that issue. So the only budget that was presented to the finance team was the 5.25% increase budget, which is maintaining the status quo. So there has not been any discussion as of yet associated with, a serious discussion about how to approach.
And that 5.4 represents what, approximately 1.2, is that what it was, 1.2 million over?
Right, it's about $1.2 million shortfall, increase over last year. Right, and it's about, based on our first revenue forecast, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, it represents an $800,000 shortfall. In other words, there's about $300,000 based on the way we've been doing business that the school would get associated with the current budget forecast. Now, since we've made the first budget forecast, the governor's, we've got a hint at what the governor was proposing for Chapter 70, and I think it was 6% increase. We budgeted in our first pass 4.5%. So in other words, the next pass at our revenue projection, which is coming soon, will include that new estimate, because that's all it is at this point, and any other adjustments that we've found as we've moved forward, which will close the $1.2 million gap further, but not by a lot. I mean, the outlook doesn't look that good.
Is it 1.2 or 800?
It's, they need 1.2 million to maintain status quo over last year's operating expenses.
Right, and the formula that we've been using, or the way we've been operating it. There's
Based
about
on the,
800,000.
based on the revenue projections that were made for this coming year, after taking out our fixed cost issues. And, on the table still is this insurance issue, which could provide some additional savings depending on where we are and where we can go and how quickly we can implement something. Because we know that the GIC, we can't implement this coming fiscal year, at least as far as any information that we have recently. But can we make some other savings in health insurance, which, that would then make that money available too. But right now, there's about $300,000 available to the school, and what was to the town for over last year? Right, what was the number, 180 or 180?
So that 300,000 still leaves them short 1.2.
No, it leaves them short, it would leave them short about 800,000.
About 800,000. Can I, Mr. Chairman, can I say something here? I think that, what you asked is that, I think the answer is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to go through the process. All right, we don't want to come out, and Jeff and I talked about this before, I think we don't want to come out and start saying numbers until we know numbers. okay? And I think that's one of the things that has hurt us in the past, is that we talk numbers before we really have, our handle on what all the possibilities are. So I think what we're trying to do is go through the process, trying to identify, as we say, the governor's proposal has revenue up, a couple of percentages. So it makes a difference, where exactly we end up. So I think what I recommended and what I believe is that we go through the entire process, that we've got time now to see what we've got, to see what's going to happen, to see what the governor's going to do. And when we're ready, when we have to make the decision about what to do, then we, so decide. But to decide now, before we've looked at everything and really seen everything and seen all the possibilities, explored, we're actively exploring things like the reduction in health insurance, the 70 money that you've mentioned that you're working on, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a mistake to go too preliminary about, what we're going to need until we really can nail down some of the information. We have the time to do that, and now is the time to do that. That's my opinion.
I concur.
Anyone else want to comment? Okay, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Deanna? Deanna, you had your hand up, and then the young lady will
Thank you,
go
Deanna
on.
Castro, 9 right away. First, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen. As I have in the past, I know that you spent an awful lot of time already hearing presentations for all the departments in town, and I know that this is a very lengthy process that you're going to undergo, and I know that it's also very time-consuming in your personal life, so I appreciate and respect all the hard work that you're about to do. 6 years ago, I moved to North Reading for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I wanted to live in a community where I could really get to know my neighbors and be there for them and them for me. I also wanted to live in a community where my family would be safe and that I could provide the very best for them. I also wanted to be in a community where I could feel a sense of pride in volunteerism and all the work that people do collectively. And I've witnessed that firsthand in so many different ways. I also moved here because I had done a tremendous amount of homework on the thing that is most important to me, and that is to provide for my children and in providing them a quality education. And I thought I'd made the right decision. 6 years ago, I moved here and I felt very safe, and I still feel very safe today. I have seen the pride in the community deteriorate a great deal, and I think it's directly related to the reductions that have occurred in the school system, and I do think that that's an area that needs our utmost attention. I would like to state for the record that, funding education and providing a quality education for every child in North Reading is my priority, so I am on a mission, and I hope that you will join me on that mission in making things right. Last year, we made some decisions, right or wrong, to put an override on the ballot to get additional funds for our school system. And 9,500 registered voters have the opportunity to decide for my children and every child in this community whether they would have a quality education this year. That is a failed process. That is not okay. And that is my responsibility as a parent to say that it is not okay for 9,500 registered voters to have a say on the quality of my children's education. That is a basic right. It is a fundamental right of every child in this community and across the Commonwealth to be privy and able to have a quality education. We are not providing that in North Reading. Our school department is splintered if it is not broken. If we do not get this right this time, it will be broken, and I ask you to think about that very seriously. 2,828 students entered the school system last year, 53 more than could ever have been projected. The status quo budget that has been presented, which would cost an additional $1.2 million that the school department does not have this year, does not allow for one more child in the school system. It does not allow for one additional program, nor does it allow for one additional teacher if we ended up with 53 students, which was about 2 more classrooms. So we need $1.7 million to put our children back to school on Wednesdays, because that is the biggest reduction or reduced service that our children have shouldered the burden of. As you know, 15 positions last year were eliminated, mostly in the arts, putting our children in a situation where they are at the absolute minimum for time and learning in the state of Massachusetts. If we get any lower than that, It is very possible, like the towns of Randolph and others who are in very, very critical